With Indonesia's presidential elections just a month away and the country's economic crisis continuing to cut deeper, demonstrations against the Suharto regime are becoming more frequent. But the military has now made it very plain that there's a limit to its tolerance. Michael Marr, ABC News, Jakarta.
And joining me now in the studio is Indonesian business specialist Michael Backman, who has concerns about Australian investment in our neighbour. Michael Backman, why is it a mistake for Canberra to underwrite Australian exports to Indonesia?
Well, I think, Kathy, it's not necessarily a mistake, but what we have to do is ask ourselves whether it is appropriate at this time. By and large, I think the federal government has acted very well in relation to the Asia crisis. However, last week with the Prime Minister's announcement of the extension of the EFIC scheme to Australian exporters to Indonesia, what we've found is that Australian exporters, particularly in the cotton industry, will be the main beneficiaries of this. And of course, that's a good thing. But you also have to look and see who is going to benefit on the Indonesian side. And one of the main beneficiaries could well be a member of President Suharto's family, a gentleman by the name of Hashim Joyo Hadikusumo. Now, he is the brother of the son-in-law of President Suharto, and he is one of the main buyers of Australian cotton. So really we should ask ourselves whether it is appropriate for Australian taxpayers effectively to underwrite some of the business interests of President Suharto's family.
But surely, I mean, any benefit to be gained would only be gained if banks were defaulting in Indonesia.
No, that's not necessarily the case. It'll certainly help for the whole trade to proceed, and certainly if banks do default in Indonesia, well then yes, there will be a very real cost, but there is a very high chance that banks will be defaulting in Indonesia. The situation there is very fluid. It's very dangerous for investors right now. It's very unclear. We've got enormous problems with the succession issue of President Suharto and enormous problems with the incredible instability of the Indonesian rupiah right now.
Well, with all that instability, political as well as economic, do you think that investors should wait until after the Indonesian election before they start investing?
Absolutely. It makes no sense to go right now in this 3 or 4 week period. I think in a couple of weeks we should have a much clearer idea of what's going to be happening in Indonesia. Things could either get better or they could get a lot worse. So I don't see any virtue at all in going early.
And yet some business analysts argue that this is actually a time when bargains can be had. So wouldn't you say that there is an argument to say, well, this is the time for risky investors to take their chances?
Yes. Now is the time if you look at a wider time frame. I think this year is a good time to start looking around for bargains, and there will be a lot of bargains in this country right now. But there's no need to go in the next few weeks. We really should wait and see what's happening with Suharto, and whether or not if he selects Minister Habibie as his vice presidential running mate, well then I think you'd want to be very wary in that situation. So we really must wait, hold our horses and wait for what transpires.
Michael Backman, thanks very much for your time. And joining me now to discuss the reaction in the Arab world, Macquarie University's Professor Robert Springborg, who's currently in Cairo. Professor Springborg, what's the reaction there to the latest moves?